Hello there everyone, I am your host, Bob BL, and I am back with a new video. So for those of you who have been watching my videos for quite some time now, you guys are all familiar with this map on screen, the bird's eye view map of the world of Lineaos, featuring the two continents Mu and Nu, the inland sea, the vast world ocean, and all of that is surrounded by a vast ring of mountains, which encase the world itself. The subject of today's video will solely focus on the continents. So here are the continents of Mu and Nu. As I've said in previous videos, the continents of Nu and Mu are divided up into three sections based on degrees of habitability. Basically, where life can exist and where life cannot exist. The outer regions of the continents, Nominalheim and Arctos, are the uninhabitable zones. They are frigid and frozen wastelands full of tundra, glaciers, and snowfields. It is too cold for any life to exist. The second region, the regions of Calvania and Celsium, are the semi-habitable zones. These regions are still cold, full of tundra and glacier, but there is also taiga and forests here as well, and it is just right for some life to exist. Highly specialized plants and animals that are well adapted to the cold. Then we enter the largest regions, and the third regions of the continents, which really aren't really named because there's countries here, and these are the habitable zones. These regions are very diverse and bountiful in biomes and life. Flora and fauna are at their most diverse. There are biomes such as jungles, forests, grasslands, deserts, rocky plains, etc. And this is also where you'll find intelligent life, your civilizations, your cities and towns, which flourish there. But as you can see, the continents of Nu and Mu are divided up into different sections. But you may be wondering, what inspired this? How did I come up with such a unique way of organizing and structuring the continents of Lineaos? From frozen wastelands to completely habitable, bountiful pieces of land. How did I come up with this? Well, today we're going to talk about who and what inspired this. We're going to talk about a man and his philosophy in science and how it influenced the structure of Nu and Mu. So without further ado, let's meet this man and his philosophy. So the man and the legend himself is the one and only Aristotle. Aristotle, for those of you who don't know, well, I believe you know who he is, was a Greek philosopher who lived in ancient times. He was a scientist as well as a mathematician too. He ranks in history as one of the greatest philosophers to have ever lived. He ranks among those of ancient Greece such as Socrates, who in this painting is being executed by drinking water hemlock. And also his teacher, Plato, who was the author of the famous philosophical treatise, The Republic. And speaking of teachers, Aristotle was the teacher of one of the most famous conquerors of the ancient world, and in history itself, the one and only Alexander the Great. Aristotle, out of all the Greek philosophers that I have learned about, is said to be the most scientifically minded out of the philosophers. He did do writings and research in the areas of early science. And today we're going to talk about how his ideas of climate and geography influenced the structures of Lineaos, from the frozen wastelands to the bountiful paradises. Aristotle wrote a scientific treatise known as the Meteorologica. The Meteorologica is a book that describes, climate, weather, and geography, and what Aristotle thought of the world around him. In this treatise, he describes how the Earth is divided up based on its climate. And this is one of the maps I can find that represent Aristotle's globe. So, as you can see, the polar regions of the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle are known as the uninhabitable zones. This was because these regions were believed to be too cold for any life to exist. And then we have the regions around the equator, known as the uninhabitable zone as well. This was because this region around the equator was believed to be too hot for life. The regions in between the equator and the Arctic Circle and the equator and the Antarctic Circle were known as the habitable zones. These regions had a temperate climate and were just right for life to exist. So, too cold and too hot. But these regions are just right. Here is another picture showing Aristotle's globe. There are a few minor differences. For example, the area around the equator, where the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn would be, are known as the torrid zones. So the torrid zones are, the hot houses. They're too hot for life. Of course, you have your frigid zones here, too cold, and you have your temperate here, just right for life. And here is another diagram of Aristotle's globe. Frigid zone of the Arctic Circle, too cold. Frigid zone of Antarctic Circle, too cold. Between the Arctic Circle and Tropic of Cancer, temperate zone, just right. Between the Tropic of Capricorn and Antarctic Circle, just right for life. And between the tropics and the equator are the torrid zones, too hot for life. So, when I described the structure of Nu and Mu, one can see how Aristotle did influence this. The outer regions of the continents, Nomenalheim and Arcticos, are uninhabitable. They're the frigid zone, a parody of it. Just like the frigid zones of Aristotle's globe are completely uninhabitable due to their cold, the regions of Nomenalheim and Arcticos are too frigid for life to exist as well, because they're too cold and icy. And just as the regions here, the larger patches, are habitable to life, they reflect Aristotle's globe of the temperate zones, which are just right for life to exist as well. However, the climate of Nu and Mu varies depending on country. Some areas could be tropical, some areas could be dry, some areas could be cool, and some areas could be temperate. But that's a minor difference. So another difference I would like to say is the regions of Kelvania and Celsium. These are semi-habitable zones. On Aristotle's maps, there are no semi-habitable zones. There are only uninhabitable zones and habitable zones on his maps, as you can see. See? Temperate zone, torrid zone, frigid zone. So the semi-habitable zone of the Linean continents is one of my own making. It is an add-on. It is a creation from my very own imagination. And another difference that is different compared to Aristotle and the continents of Lineaos is there are no hot houses, as in there are no torrid zones. The only regions that are uninhabitable in the world of Lineaos are the realms of Nomenalheim and Arcticos, due to it being too cold. There are no regions on the continents that are too hot for life, for even the hottest places of Lineaos are inhabited by plants and animals. But I just wanted to tell you guys that. A little additional information. So, It is the brilliant mind of Aristotle that helped me structure the world of Lineaos as you see it. Without Aristotle's Meteorologica and its climate zones, the continents of Lineaos might have not been the way they are. Even though Aristotle technically was wrong in a sense, there is life at the equator and life in the poles. He lived thousands of years ago, so obviously not much was known about the Earth. He still is a brilliant man, and we still can learn a lot about him and from him. It's still important to learn from the past. But this man is the reason why Linnaeus' continents are structured the way they are. And, without it, Linnaeus might be different or might not really exist. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. For further reading on Aristotle and his theories of climate and geography, I'll leave some sources down in the description below. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you all stay safe and well. But it is thanks to this brilliant scientist and polymath that Linnaeus is the way it is. Thank you, Aristotle. Have a good day, everybody, and stay safe and well. Bye.